I'm embarking tonight on a manual called Interpretive Reading, and it suggests that I talk a little bit about what I'm going to be doing. The first thing I do in this evening's topic is reading a story, which I read somebody else's words, so it's an easy topic in a way, but I'm to read it interpretively, bringing it to life. I chose this folk tale that was retold by Jane Yolen. It's called Grayling. Now, before I start, my background is my only daughter left for her senior year of college last Saturday. So when choosing a story, this one jumped out at me. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, Grayling. Once upon a time, a fisherman and his wife lived by the seaside. All that they ate came from the sea. Their hut was covered by sea mosses that kept them cool in the summer and warm in the winter. And there was nothing they needed or wanted except a child. Every morning, the wife would say to the fisherman, "You have your boat and your nets and your lines, but I have no baby to hold in my arms." And she would begin to weep and weep and weep as he left the house. Now the fisherman was also sad that they had no child, but he kept his sorrow to himself, so that his wife would not know his grief and therefore double her own. He would leave the hut each morning singing and return each night whistling. His nets were full, his heart was empty. Yet, he never told his wife. One day, when he went down to his boat, he found a small gray seal stranded on a sandbar, crying for its own. The fisherman looked up the beach and down. He looked in front of him and behind him. He looked up to the town on the great gray cliff that sheered off into the sea. But there were no other seals in sight. So he shrugged his shoulders, took off his shirt, dipped it into the water, and wrapped the seal carefully into its folds. "You have no father, and you have no mother," he said, "and I have no child, so you shall come home with me." And the fisherman did no fishing that day, but instead immediately took the seal pup home to his wife. When she saw him come home early, the woman ran out of the hut. "What's wrong?" Then she looked at the bundle he held in his arms with wonder. "It is nothing," he said, "but a seal pup I found stranded in the shallows. I thought we could give it love and care until it is old enough to seek its kin." The woman nodded and took the bundle. As she unwrapped it, she cried out, "Nothing? You call this nothing?" The fisherman looked, and instead of a seal lying in its folds, he saw a strange child with great gray eyes and silvery hair smiling up at him. The fisherman said, "Ah, it is a selchie. I've heard of them. They are men upon the land and seals in the sea. I thought they were mythical creatures." "But he is real," his wife said. "Then he shall remain a man upon the land." And taking the child in her arms, she added, "For I shall never let him return to the sea." "Never," echoed the husband, because he knew how his wife and he had wanted a child. And yet he felt, somehow, that it was wrong. "We shall call him Grayling," said the fisherman's wife, "because his eyes and hair are the color of a storm-coming sky. Grayling, though he has brought sunlight into our home." And the boy grew from a child to a lad. He grew from a lad to a young man. He gathered driftwood from the hearth and shells for the mantle from the sea. He mended his father's nets and tended his boats, but though he often stood by the shore, or high in the town, looking and longing for what he did not really know, he never went into the sea. Then, one morning, 15 years from the day that Grayling had been found, a great storm blew up suddenly in the north. The sky turned black. The wind pushed huge waves onto the shore. The waves gobbled up the little hut on the beach, and Grayling and his mother fled to the town on the great gray cliffs. They looked down at the roiling, boiling sea. Far from shore, they spied the fisherman's boat, its sails flapping like the wings of a wounded gull, and clinging to the broken mast was the fisherman himself, sinking deeper with every wave. The fisherman's wife called to the people of the town who had gathered on the edge of the cliff. "Will no one save my dear husband?" The townspeople looked away. There was no man who dared risk his life in that sea, even to save a drowning soul. "Let the boy go," said one man, pointing at Grayling. "He looks strong enough." But the fisherman's wife clasped Grayling to her and covered his ears with her hands. She did not want him to go to the sea. "Will no one save my own dear heart?" she cried again. Shaking their heads, the people of the town edged to their houses and shut their doors and locked their windows and set their backs to the ocean. "I will save him, Mother," said Grayling, and before she could tell him no, he broke from her grasp and dived from the top of the great cliffs, down, down, down into the tumbling sea. "He will surely sink," said the women as they ran from their homes to watch by the cliff. "He will surely drown," said the men as they fetched their binoculars and gathered on the cliffs again. As Grayling disappeared beneath the waves, little fingers of foam tore at his clothes. They snatched his shirt and his pants and his shoes and sent them bubbling away to the shore. And as Grayling went deeper beneath the waves, even his skin seemed to slough off, till he swam free in the sleek coat of a great gray seal. The Selchie had returned to the sea. But the townsfolk did not see this. All they saw was the boy disappearing under the waves, and then, farther out, a large seal swimming toward the boat that wallowed in the sea. With no effort at all, the seal eased the fisherman to the shore, though the waves were wild with foam. And then, with a salute, it turned its back on the land and headed joyously out to sea. The fisherman's wife hurried down to the sand, followed by the townsfolk. They searched up the beach and down, but they could not find the boy. "A brave son," said the men when they found his shirt. "A very brave son," said the women when they found his shoes. "Has he really gone?" asked the fisherman's wife when at last she and her husband were alone. "Yes, quite gone. Gone where his heart calls, gone to the great wide sea. And though my heart grieves at his leaving, it tells me that this way is best." The fisherman's wife sighed, and then she cried. But at last she agreed that it was best. "He is both man and seal," she said, "and though we cared for him for a while, now he must care for himself." And she never cried again. So once more they lived alone by the seaside, in a new hut, covered with sea mosses to keep them warm in the winter and cool in the summer. Yet, once a year, a great gray seal is seen at night near their home. And the townfolk talk of it and wonder, but seals do come to shore, and men do go to sea, and so the townsfolk do not dwell upon it very long. But it is no ordinary seal. It is Grayling, come home, come to tell his parents tales of the lands that lie far beyond the waters, and to sing them songs of the wonders that lie far beneath the sea.
Thank you, Virginia. Enchanting.